It's a beautiful 25 below. We actually had as cold as 27 below on the van and 50 below wind chill right now as we're just pulling into the bog. It's about a half an hour before sunrise. When we found out that school would be canceled on Friday due to dangerously cold wind chills, we did what we always do. We made plans to wake up at 4 o'clock and drive 3 hours north to the Zaxxon Bog for a day of birding. Besides packing almost every item of winter clothing we own in the van, we also grabbed my Big Buddy heater and a shovel. Checked Augie's boardwalk for a snowshoe hare, but it was hiding, probably like all other mammals. But the pine grosbeaks were unfazed. They are highly adapted to cold, as we'll discuss later. Along with evening grosbeaks, they have erupted in northern Minnesota this year. They were hard to find the last couple years, but this winter they are abundant. It's interesting how each winter is different. Last year we had high numbers of white-winged crossbills. This year we have none. The crossbills move south based on the abundance of spruce and tamarack cones. These trees typically follow a 2 to 4 year cycle for producing heavy cone crops. A tree might put on over 10,000 cones one year and then manage resources by putting on none the next year. This year we have very few cones. Pine grosbeaks also like seeds and cones, but they care more about fruit from mountain ash trees, which produce heavy crops on a 3 to 5 year cycle. Lack of food up north has them now building fat reserves from sunflower seeds. This is also true for the evening grosbeak. There are actually winter finch forecasts that track these cycles. The key is to enjoy the eruptive species you have when you have them. There is something special about driving through the bog on a very cold day with the sunrise refracting through ice crystals. Some of the best memories are created when you look for adventure in ways that other people might find crazy. Everyone who drives to the bog hopes to see a great gray owl, and that possibility keeps you scanning the ditches in the early morning. However, this year's sightings have been one every few weeks. My guess is that most owls we have seen on the roadside hunting in the past few years are winter visitors. This year we have no visitors from the north, and the year-round residents have other places to hang out. Since owl sightings are down, human sightings are down too. But there are other reasons to come to the bog. At the Admiral feeder, the red-breasted nuthatch was eating some frozen peanut butter. This wing quivering might be to intimidate the chickadees or other birds, letting them know, "Don't think about it, this is my peanut butter." However, the nuthatch is so small that the socially unaware female pine grosbeak didn't pick up his signal. Meanwhile, at the Zabin, we witnessed the second largest flock of evening grosbeaks I've ever seen. Between the feeders and the trees, there were probably 50 birds. I would witness the largest flock I've ever seen about 30 minutes later. I'll be honest, I haven't seen evening grosbeaks very often. When we were in the bog just before New Year's, we arrived after lunch, and the evening grosbeaks were nowhere to be found. You need to get to the feeders in the morning if you want to see the evening grosbeak. In the 1820s, when settlers first encountered these birds in the American West, they always seemed to come out of the woods at sunset, so the confusing name stuck. Next, we encountered a Canada jay and a blue jay sharing a spruce tree. The Canada jay, who has many nicknames, including the gray jay, camp robber, and whiskey jack, is a true boreal species and adapted well for the cold. It uses its sticky saliva to coat and securely glue food items in tree bark and crevices or among conifer needles. The glued food package is called a bolus. I think the plural is boli. Their exceptional memory allows them to locate the thousands of these that they have hid for winter. This guy had fluffed his feathers, trapping a layer of air for warmth. But the blue jay had outfluffed him. This blue jay is probably hanging out with the Canada jays under the category of work smarter, not harder. Instead of doing all the work of caching and remembering food stores, just follow around the bird that does. Blue jays can also mimic hawks to scare away other birds from a food source. On a 50 below wind chill day, like most of us, the blue jay is probably just trying not to die. And now the world's largest flock of evening grosbeaks. Not really. Apparently there have been flocks of up to 600 counted before, but I was impressed to see likely over 100 birds between the trees and feeders. Some birders really enjoy counting, but I try to estimate if there are more than 12 of a species. A few things stood out to me from this cold observation. First was how good evening grosbeaks were at shelling sunflower seeds. Pine grosbeaks are as well. Apparently a single bird can eat a cup of seed in an hour, and they will all be neatly shelled using their powerful beak and tongue. I'm sure this flock is cleaning out over a gallon a day. They are very social while feeding. Somehow, while shelling all of those seeds, they are constantly making chirping and trill calls to share their excitement, so more birds attempt to join. Even though all the spots are taken, they find a way to fit one more in. They do not seem bothered by the cold in the least. At the bird bath, they were careful not to get their feathers wetter than necessary. Birds lack the facial muscles to suck or gulp water, so they have to tip their head back and use gravity to drink. A straw would be worthless for an evening grosbeak. You would think those were salted sunflower seeds watching them drink. We made a quick stop at the Ark of Feeders, where we spotted this sad white-throated sparrow who forgot to migrate. We also seen 2 different northern hawk owls on the south end of the bog. Neither were in hunting mode or in a good place for photography. They don't really post their schedules, so you have to decide if you want to sit around and wait for them to come closer. We decided not to. We moved on to the Winterberry Bog, where we found more pine grosbeaks. This time, the pine grosbeaks were accompanied by redpolls. The redpolls benefit from the debris flying from the quick-shelling grosbeaks. About this time, my fingers were completely frozen and not able to push the camera shutter, and I started to wonder about bird feet on a metal feeder hook. Turns out their feet have fewer pain receptors and less muscle. It's mainly just bones and tendon. The warm blood flowing down to their feet passes right by the cold blood returning. This works as a countercurrent heat exchange, warming the blood returning to the body and cooling the blood heading to the toes, saving energy. Another abundancy was the northern shrike. We've probably seen a half dozen. Their populations also can be eruptive, following the population cycles of small mammals. If the bog is 400 square miles, that's 256,000 acres. A normal spruce bog would have 180 to 1,800 stems per acre, so there could be somewhere between 46 million and 460 million black spruce trees out there. There are approximately 2 million black-capped chickadees in Minnesota, so if you come to the bog looking for either spruce trees or chickadees, I think you will do quite well. As we were watching these woodpeckers eat in a much more messy style than the grosbeaks, I was reminded of the mouse that was benefiting last time we came to the bog. Sure enough, he was still down there. We need to get some owls around here to take care of these things. Well, there was one new owl. Surprisingly, a short-eared owl has been making nightly appearances in the bog. The previous 2 nights, he had not shown up until dark, but this night he was out at 4 o'clock. He was hunting in the sunlight, and it was easy to spot his white wings and moth-like flight. I'm always impressed with how much ground they cover when they are hunting. They can easily make a half-mile pass, so you just have to hope they come somewhere by you for a good photo. At one point, he did perch relatively close to us. With the long wings, short body, and strong legs, they stick the landing like a gymnast. The short-eared actually flew across the road, pretty close to where our tripod was set up. But I had to settle for iPhone video because either the camera was frozen or our fingers. The day in the bog ended as it should, watching an owl hunt in the Arctic setting sun.